the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa has called on President Ramaphosa to speed up land reform and development in rural areas. CONTRALESA made the proposal during President Ramaphosa's annual engagement with civil society organizations.
Ubaba Mahlangu from CONTRALESA, they want the Department of Land Reform to assist with development in the rural areas. Now, I had a meeting yesterday with the House of Traditional Leaders and Khoisan leadership. We agreed that the work that has been done by the Deputy President, former Deputy President Mabuza, will be carried on by Deputy President Mashatile to look at the land reform process. We have made a lot of progress. We are now almost at the finishing line. A paper is going to be brought to Cabinet, and we will be able to address this issue of land reform in the areas where our traditional leaders give leadership. But the issue of development in the rural areas is for us an important issue, and we have embarked on and are embarking on a number of projects. For instance, some of our catalytic projects, for instance, like rural bridges. The rural bridges that we are going to build are in the rural areas to help our rural people to be able to do business and to be able to travel easily. We are going to build a number of bridges, and Minister Sihle Zikalala is going to be working on that. We are also going to embark on a mega project, which is the building of the Umzimvubu Dam. This dam has been under discussion for more than 20-something years. And now we are going to make sure that it is actually started. There are 2 dams in that whole water system. We are going to start the process of developing that. And that, together with a number of other projects that we are going to embark upon in the rural areas, just goes to show that, yes, we will focus on the areas where 30% of our population stay. Because 30% of South Africans now live in the rural areas. The other almost 60-something% has moved to the urban areas. We therefore need to develop our rural areas so that more and more people are able to go back to the rural areas or stay there where there will be economic activity.
Well, for a little bit more on this, we're now joined by CONTRALESA President Kgoshi Mothupa Mokoena. Kgoshi, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Always good to talk to you.
It's my pleasure, Peter. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me, Peter.
All right, this dialogue with the President, always an important time. What were the big issues that came up for you?
Leadership, the dialogue took place, yes. Where it started for the public to understand where we came from is that we once met the President and our then Deputy President Didi Mabuza to go around the provinces to look and listen to traditional leaders as to exactly what is it that we are raising with government. And that led to the dialogue that we once had ourselves and the National House. And indeed, the Deputy President went around the country where we gave him a catalog of issues that affect negatively our rural and traditional leadership. Now, the meeting, Peter, we're looking forward to answers. Now, it came with many ministers, which we appreciate, and deputy ministers. But unfortunately, it is clear that those some of the ministers were new. They came to that dialogue unprepared. Hence, we said, wow, we hope they came with answers of things that we raised with the Deputy President, Peter.
All right, and did you get those answers before we discuss the issues in particular?
Unfortunately, Peter, all we got yesterday was that government is still willing to work with traditional leaders and are prepared to follow up on issues that were raised. But there was no concrete feedback that we got yesterday. And ourselves, CONTRALESA and the National House, that's where we felt after the meeting, we said, no, let's have a round 2 of the dialogue. But ourselves, CONTRALESA and the National House, were going to meet to chart the way forward to find out exactly what is it that is making our government to fail to respond to issues that are simple. For example, recently we complain about the killings that are taking place in KwaZulu-Natal in particular, where so many traditional leaders have been killed and no arrest is made. And we requested that can we have some answers. We even make a proposal, Peter, that let's the president establish a commission of inquiry that will look into these killings as to exactly what are the causes of these killings. And among other things, we submitted that there is this handbook that is supposed to be finalized that will talk to tools of trade for traditional leaders. Up until now, we're told it is being finalized. Come to land issues. It's a question of saying the 13% that is in the hand of traditional leadership and their people, can it be transferred so that solely it's controlled by the traditional leader and his people? Up until now, we're still waiting, Peter. Hence, I said we're not entirely happy, but we understand the president, maybe he was still navigating because he just deployed new ministers there, but traditional leaders, we can't wait. The wait is too long, my leader.
Yeah. Are you starting to lose faith that you're being taken seriously?
Peter, our worry is that when we raise these issues, it looks as if people are listening. They will even write down those issues and so on. But can you imagine, we've been raising some of the issues at the time of our late President Nelson Mandela, may his soul rest in peace. We raised issues again with Thabo Mbeki, our former president. We raised issues with our former president, Jacob Zuma, even Kgalema Motlanthe. And now we're raising the same issue with President Ramaphosa. Now, the question that worries traditional leaders is, why this laxity by our government when it comes to responding to our issues? We are saying now the buck stops here. It's up to the president now to push his ministers to deliver on all the issues that they promised that they will do it for traditional leaders. Because we can't have this talk show forever. We've been raising these issues forever, Peter. I don't know, even when some of us will be no more in this world, our sons will be talking about the same thing again. It cannot be.
All right.
There is no political will, Peter.
All right.
There is no political will. If there was a political will, I can tell you they would have delivered on all the issues that you raised, Peter.
All right. So it sounds like you want some finality urgently now. What if it doesn't come? What can you and what will you do?
Fortunately, we are calling a coalition of traditional leaders. That is called all traditional leaders in the country, regardless of their affiliations. We are going to meet and chart the way forward. Currently, it is known by everybody that the parties, because they vote from rural people. Now, if they can respond, we don't have a choice but to meet the traditional leaders to ask all our to say, we've been raising these things up until now. Please tell us what to do.
Earlier on, you mentioned land issues. Now, throughout history, traditional leadership and land have closely been associated. What kind of reforms are you looking for and clarity that's important to you?
Peter, you know, we are worried. There are some NGOs that are hovering like hawks. They even have offices outside Parliament. They are just looking at any legislation that had to do with traditional leadership. They want to crush it. And when it comes to land tenure, in terms of land, they even went to an extent of suggesting that the borders that are existing now between traditional leadership in all provinces, they said, no, those borders are apartheid borders, they must be done away with. Those NGOs, we know they are funded by some imperialists who hate Ubukhosi. The question is, why are they not making the same noise when it comes to boundaries for those white farmers who are owning large tracts of land in our country? They are still maintaining and retaining their borders as they were even during apartheid, even now. The same group that seem to be champions of democracy, they are quiet when it comes to land that is owned by whites. But if anyone talks about land that must be owned by black people, in particular traditional leaders, they will make some noise, even go to the extent of saying, we'll challenge anything if governments will try to change the current arrangement to give traditional leaders powers. This is so it is nonsensical. It's nonsensical for that NGOs, because we know who is funding them to fight traditional leaders. All we're saying to government is that it's a matter of political will to say, change the ownership of the land to be in the hands of traditional leaders and their people. Finish and plug. That's all we're calling for, Peter. We're not calling for anything else. We know that government is now afraid to tamper with the 87% that is in the hands of whites. They are afraid. They are looking at soft targets, which is land that is under the rule of traditional leaders. That's where they want to fiddle and even make some changes on how the tenure should look like. And as traditional leaders who are saying, yes, government, we are prepared to do anything. If there is any legislation that seems to oppress our people, we are prepared as Amakosi to correct it. But no one must come and tell us that traditional leaders cannot own anything. But here are white farmers here, they are allowed to own their lands and nothing is said about it. We are not zombies, Peter. We can think and we can see through some people as to what is their agenda, Peter.
All right, so we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. But Kgoshi, thank you very much indeed. Ka leboga.
Ke a leboga, Peter. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. All right, that's the CONTRALESA President, Kgoshi Mothupa Mokoena, speaking to us about the concerns that they have engaging with government, saying that a lot of these issues stretch back to the Mandela government and they just haven't been dealt with successive administration after successive administration. But it seems as if they've reached the end of their rope and they're going to call a gathering of leaders and chart a way forward.